Well, folks, it looks like we have some bad news. According to a new study out of Northwestern University, Americans may be getting dumber. Yes, you heard me right, dumber. And not just a little bit, but in some cognitive domains. IQ scores have dropped over the past decade. Now, before you start getting all riled up, let's take a closer look at the findings. The study suggests that there may be a reverse Flynn effect happening in the United States, with verbal reasoning, matrix reasoning, and letter and number series ability scores all decreasing over the past 13 years. However, 3D rotation scores increased during the same period, so I guess we can feel a little bit better about our spatial reasoning abilities. But what does this all mean? Well, the study's author, Elizabeth Dworak, cautions against interpreting the findings as a sign that Americans are getting less intelligent. She suggests that it could simply be that people are getting worse at taking tests, or specifically worse at taking these kinds of tests. And let's face it, some of these IQ tests can be pretty tricky. I mean, who uses analogies in real life anyway? But wait, there's more. The study used a free online personality test called the Synthetic Aperture Personality Assessment, the SAPA, project to collect data from over 300,000 Americans. The test measures not only cognitive ability, but also 27 temperament traits, including humor. So if you're feeling a little down about your IQ score, just remember that you might be hilarious. Of course, the study didn't try to determine the reason for the decline in IQ scores, but there are plenty of theories out there. Poor nutrition, worsening health, media exposure, and changes to education have all been suggested. Maybe we should start feeding our kids more fish or something, or we could just blame it all on TikTok. In all seriousness, reflected in our performance on tests. With the emphasis on STEM education, maybe other areas of study are being neglected, or maybe people just aren't as motivated to take IQ tests anymore. Personally, I'd rather spend my time taking a quiz that tells me which Disney princess I am. So, are Americans getting dumber? It's hard to say, but one thing's for sure, we need more data to find out. Maybe the researchers can access that 40-year-old data set and conduct a follow-up study. Or maybe we can just all take a deep breath and realize that IQ scores aren't the only measure of intelligence. After all, some of the smartest people I know can't do basic math to save their lives. If Americans are getting dumber, at least we have something to blame for our mistakes. Instead of saying, oops, I made a mistake, we can just say, oops, I have a lower IQ score. But in all seriousness, the decline in IQ scores is concerning. Who knows what kind of impact it could have on our society? Maybe we'll start electing even more reality TV stars to high office. Oh wait, that's already happening. But let's not forget that IQ scores aren't everything. There are plenty of smart people out there who didn't do well on IQ tests. And on the flip side, there are plenty of people who do well on IQ tests but can't seem to make good decisions. So maybe we should focus less on IQ scores and more on things like empathy, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. After all, those are the skills that will help us navigate an increasingly complex and uncertain world. And who knows, maybe in a few years we'll look back on the study and laugh or cry or just shrug our shoulders and say, hey, it is what it is. And after all, that seems to be our default response to just about everything else these days. If we're going to blame poor nutrition for the decline in IQ scores, then maybe we should probably start feeding people brain food. You know, like actual brains. Zombie apocalypse? Or maybe the decline in IQ scores is due to all those participation trophies we handed out to kids. Now they think they're all geniuses and don't need to work hard to improve their skills. But hey, at least have a trophy to remind them of their mediocre achievements. And let's not forget about the impact of social media on our cognitive abilities. With all those cat videos and memes distracting us, it's a wonder we can even remember our own names. Maybe we should just all unplug and go to the woods, live like Thoreau. But in all seriousness, we shouldn't jump to conclusions about the decline in IQ scores. Maybe people are just better at different kinds of tasks now. Maybe we're evolving to be more spatially aware so we can better navigate the world of virtual reality. Or maybe aliens have been secretly infiltrating our brains and lowering our IQs to make it easier for them to take over. Hey, you never know. The truth is, out there, in the end, we should take the findings of this study with a grain of salt. After all, intelligence is a complex and multifaceted thing. And who knows, maybe in a few years we'll have a new study that shows we're all geniuses again. Until then, let's just keep calm and carry on, and maybe do a few crossword puzzles, just to be safe. Maybe the decline in IQ scores is due to all those conspiracy theories people are spreading. Flat Earth? QAnon? Come on, people, let's use our brains for something other than coming up with wild theories. Or maybe it's the fault of all those Hollywood movies and TV shows that makes us believe that smart people are boring and nerdy. We need more cool scientists and engineers in our media to inspire the next generation. And let's not forget about the impact of technology on our cognitive abilities. We rely on our phones and computers to remember everything for us, so maybe our brains are just getting lazy. Pretty soon we'll be like that Pixar movie, WALL-E, just floating around in our hover chairs, unable to even lift a finger. But hey, at least we can take solace in the fact that we're not alone in our stupidity. There are plenty of other countries experiencing the same decline in IQ scores, so let's all hold hands, sing Kumbaya, as we collectively become dumber. A fluid thing. And it can be changed over time based on a variety of factors. So let's just keep learning, growing, and laughing at ourselves along the way. After all, laughter is the best medicine, and we could all use a good dose of it right now. Maybe the decline in IQ scores is just natural selection at work. The less intelligent among us are being weeded out, leaving only the smartest and the strongest to survive. Survival of the fittest, right? Or maybe it's all a conspiracy by the government to make us easier to control. They're lowering our IQs so that we're too dumb to realize what's happening. Wake up! And let's not forget about the impact of reality TV on our cognitive abilities. Watching all these shows about people fighting over who gets to marry a millionaire can't be good for our brains. Maybe we should start watching more educational programming, like Sesame Street or Bill Nye the Science Guy. But in all seriousness, we should be careful not to generalize too much based on this one study. There are plenty of intelligent people out there who just don't perform well on IQ tests. And who knows, maybe the decline in IQ tests is just a blip on the radar. Or maybe it's a sign of something more serious. Either way, we should keep an open mind and be willing to learn and grow, even if it means admitting that we're not as smart as we thought we were. The study that I'm referring to is... Actually, I don't know that much about the study. Are we growing up more dumber? Americans' IQ scores drop in 4 or 5 measurements. This came out of Northwestern University in Illinois, one of the top universities in Illinois. IQ scores significantly increased from 1932 throughout the 20th century all over the world, with differences ranging from roughly 3 to 5 IQ points per decade. This phenomenon is known as the Flynn effect. Now, however, a new study out of Northwestern University suggests a reverse Flynn effect of sorts may be taking place in the United States. This reverse Flynn effect was present across a large U.S. sample covering between 2006 and 2018 in every category except one. Still, there were consistent negative slopes among 3 out of 4 cognitive domains. Ability scores pertaining to verbal reasoning, logic, vocabulary, matrix reasoning, visual problem solving, analogies, and letter and number series, computational/mathematical, all dropped over the course of the study period. However, scores of 3D rotation, spatial reasoning, which I believe generally males are better at, generally increased between 2011 and 2018, which, after all, isn't a good sign. One of the jokes that were made in the video was about IQ, and there is different types of IQ. I mean, there's static, I think crystallized and fluid IQ, though we're not going to go too much farther into that. Composite ability scores, single scores derived from multiple pieces of information, were also lower across the more recent samples. These scores differences persisted regardless of age, education, or gender. Despite the observed decline in IQ scores, corresponding study author Elizabeth Dworak posits people shouldn't read these findings and think Americans are getting less intelligent, even though that's kind of what it means. It doesn't mean their mental ability is lower or higher. It's just a difference in scores that are favoring older or newer samples, explained Dworak, a research assistant professor of medical social sciences at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine. In a media release, it could just be that they're getting worse at taking tests, or specifically work at taking these kinds of tests. I'm going to go ahead and link to this article in the video itself in the description later. I also wanted to go over one more article, though I didn't spend too much time reading it. We're just going to roughly go over it. Lead from gasoline blunted the IQ of about half the U.S. population, study says. Leaded gas was banned in 1996, but exposure to the poison cost people born before then several IQ points on average, researchers estimated. Exposure to leaded gasoline lowered the IQ of about half the population of the United States, a new study estimates. The peer-reviewed study, published Monday in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, focuses on people born before 1996, the year the U.S. banned gas containing lead. Overall, the researchers from Florida State University and Duke University found childhood lead exposure cost America an estimated 824 million points. That's obviously aggregated across all of America, or 2.6 points per person on average. Certain cohorts were often more affected than others. For people born in the 1960s and 70s, when leaded gas consumption was skyrocketing, the IQ loss was estimated to be up to 6 points for some, and more than 7 points. Exposure to it came primarily from inhaling auto exhaust, because that's a big pastime for people. The team behind the study used gas consumption data, population estimates, and other data continued to calculate that as of 2015, more than 170 million Americans had blood levels above 5 micrograms per deciliter in their early childhood years. Lead is a neurotoxin, and no amount of it is safe. Apparently 3.5 micrograms per deciliter is the reference value for blood levels to be considered high. The acceptable amount was once higher. Principal study author Michael McFarland, an associate professor of sociology at Florida State University and a faculty member of the university's Center for Demography and Population Health, called the number of people affected by lead exposure staggering. This is important because we often think about lead as an issue for children, and of course it is, he said, but what we really wanted to know is what happens to those children who were exposed. In many cases, McFarland said a 2 to 3 point IQ difference is nominal, unless an individual is on the lower side of the IQ distribution. If you're more toward cognitive impairment, a couple points can mean a lot. But on the population basis, shifting the average IQ down even a small amount could have large consequences, said Sung Kyung Park, an associate professor of epidemiology and environmental health sciences at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. The entire bell curve shifts, he explained, with more of the population at what once was the extreme low end of IQ scores. Lead used to be added to gasoline to help engines run more smoothly until other safer additives replaced it. In addition to being linked to lower IQs, it has also been associated with heart and kidney disease. Lead can be inhaled or ingested, with children particularly susceptible to its poisonous effects. Children's Blood lead levels have been dramatically lowered in the U.S. in recent decades, but lead exposure still happens, and black children are exposed more often than white children. Monday's study, too, estimated that most black adults under age 45 experienced considerably higher levels of blood lead levels in early life than their white counterparts. The racial disparities are generally due to environmental contamination and infrastructure issues that affect drinking water in low-income minority neighborhoods, with the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, one of the most egregious examples in recent years. And while children are the most vulnerable to getting very ill from lead, the toxin's damage can show up later, Parks said. Lead exposure is believed to put people at risk for chronic and age-related diseases, including cardiovascular disease and dementia. Lead is a never-ending story. There are medical interventions available for children who have recently been exposed to high amounts of lead, but those wouldn't work for adults born before 1996. Still, the studies found should not be a major cause for concern, McFarland said. There are a host of things that go into IQ. This one is obviously negative, but if you also have a nurturing home environment, that helps your IQ. Yeah, that's true. One thing that you have to remember about scientists is they like to play down the seriousness as not to cause concern or, over concern for ideas. So, if you liked today's video, please share it, comment on it. Please comment and like and subscribe. I'm going to get to the comment section now if we have anything in the comment section at the moment. See if we have anybody watching.